لله رب العالمين وقال الله سبحانه وتعالى اليوم اليوم يئس الذين كفروا من دينكم فلا تخشوهم واخشونا اليوم أكملت لكم دينكم واتممت عليكم نعمتي وما يعمتي وردت لكم إسلام دينا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed this ayah that the overwhelming majority of the commentators of the Quran mentioned that it was during this time and during that farewell Hajj, the Hajj that the Prophet ﷺ made before he departed and left us. Well, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this ayah gives reassurance of victory, but it also, as time progresses and the Muslims run across this every year, is reassuring your iman and what you're supposed to stand on, how firm you're supposed to be. As translated, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says, today those who disbelieve despair of defeating your deen. They can't beat us. We only beat ourselves. Here's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is confirming this, right? And so Allah Ta'ala, after that, he said that this day, Allah Ta'ala has perfected your deen for you, right? So meaning that it's firm, it's established, that's it, there's no change in it, it's not no real loss, right? When we think we take a loss, we're not really taking a loss, right? But it's actually a lesson to learn from it and pick up and move forward. Even if you look at now with the situation of the current situation of the believers, it's a lesson to be learned, not so much so a loss, right? Because we still have that hope and upliftment when we're talking about the return of Isa ibn Maryam and the appearance of Sayyidina Muhammad Abdullahi al-Mahdi, right? The Mahdi. I shouldn't have said the Muhammad ibn Abdullah because it might get some of the deviants like, oh, I love it. But that is his name, al-Mahdi, right? And he's going to restore and recorrect and put things back in his place. But prior to him, appearing, we're always going to be held accountable to do tajdeed, to do revival, to revive Islam. And one of the biggest problems that we're having today with our thing is that we're coming in with an inferior mind state. Majority of the Muslims, when they're calling people to Allah Ta'ala, especially non-Muslims, and it depends if they're the minority in that society, they're calling people to Allah Ta'ala by compromising ways, right? And we've seen it as it gets worse over the years. Over the years, it's getting worse and worse and worse with our capitulation and our compromise. We're almost to the point that we're not even thinking about firmly establishing Islam. Thinking about firmly establishing Islam is our motivation, and we're no longer talking about it. That's why our families are suffering. Because everything that in our mind, we're thinking of Islam as a religion and not as a deen in its totality. We've become complacent and comfortable with looking at naked women walking past us on a regular basis, smelling the aroma of marijuana, even smoking and partaking in it, right? We find that these things don't even anger us. It doesn't bother us. Many of us, many Muslims, we partake in practices. We're engaging, right? We don't like the laws of zawaj no more, of marriage, but rather we want to make our own laws. And this is why, you'll see that we're constantly suffering. We're not content with what Allah Ta'ala is saying, that Allah Ta'ala has perfected this deen and made it complete for us. Now think about that. Think of the context of the ayah was revealed. There was no one that was content. The Prophet ﷺ, none of the Sahabas, they were content with people drinking wine and khamr. Nobody was content with fornication. As a matter of fact, to show you that they were so discontent and disheartened with the sins that they commit, they will come forward and tell the Prophet ﷺ, Ya Rasulullah, I committed zina, right? And then they would go and receive the high punishment. We don't think like this. We don't even think like this. The more sin we commit, the bigger monster we have. The more that we show that we're not firm in what Allah Ta'ala has revealed. And that's why Allah Ta'ala mentioned that this day, this deen has been completed. Take this as a reminder. Take this as a reminder. And also take it as motivation to move forward, right? You're different from the mushrikeen, right? Or in the words of the good brother Kendrick Lamar, they're not like us. Right? They're not like us. And you have to carry that and let that light burn in your chest. Because Allah Ta'ala, with this ayah, has reaffirmed the strength of Islam. This is why we're having the failures that we're having. Our families are failing because we don't have that same fire for the deen that people had 20 years ago. And this is why it's going nowhere. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. As-salatu was-salam ala Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, walillahi alhamd. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He mentions in the Quran, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وتعاونوا على البر والتقوى ولا تعاونوا على الإثم وعدوان واتقوا الله إن الله شديد العقاب. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells you in the Quran to encourage each other to righteousness. Encourage one another in righteousness. Ta'awna, which is also giving an indication that there has to be camaraderie, some sort there, right? Encouraging one another. We have to keep company in order to encourage one another. But when people don't keep company with each other, just like the Prophet ﷺ said, that to be careful who you keep company with, that's how y'all going to influence each other. So imagine a good brother, when he's around, he's a good brother, we encourage each other, but when he gets alone, right, he's alone, he's a wife beater, right? Or she's a husband beater, right? They're cheaters, right? They're zanies, right? They don't pray. They're amongst the people who neglect prayer, right? They don't fast. Their mouth is filthy, right? All of these things, you can just keep going on, but when you're in the company of each other, you feel like the best Muslim you can ever feel. This is why, if you even look at it, this is how we're losing our shahadas. We're losing our new Muslims. When they come around, they feel like, yeah, you know, and nobody embraces them. No one shows them that love that they should be shown. But they'll still keep your company for a time, but there's only for so long you're going to sit around and feel lonely in a crowded room. It's only for so long, right? It's the same thing with a family. You got a man, all he do, wake up every day and just listen to everybody complain, go to work, come back home. Nobody even notices when the man is sick. He got to be like almost dead, right? And every day he gets on, he puts his shoes on to do the same routine. He either tells himself it gets better in Jannah, or I'm getting the hell out of here as soon as I get an opportunity, right? Well, how do you think that the other Muslims feel when you treat them awkward when they come near you, right? Or when you're with each other and you don't show love to each other, it's not reciprocated. Allah Ta'ala is telling you reflectively back and forth to encourage each other to do good. Now, we're not telling you to walk around and be fake phony, right? And what I mean by fake and phony, you're putting on this persona, but it's good, and I don't want to label it as being fake and phony, because the way that we learn from our minhaj with Masjid Uthman and Fodiyo tells us is that you practice a thing until it becomes natural. I may not smile every day, but I'm forcing myself. That's what we call fake and phony, but it's actually being a good Muslim and trying to follow the prescription that your sheikh left with, right? And you're trying to do this thing until it becomes a natural thing for you. And Allah Ta'ala is going to test you as you make your intention. Most people be like, I ain't going to say nothing because the thing that you say, Allah's going to test you. The moment you make your intention, Allah Ta'ala is going to test you by it. Allah will test you by your claim, all right? And you'll either be a man in your word or you'll be a liar, all right? So anyway, so we're to encourage each other in righteousness and in taqwa. So when we come together, it should inspire. We should learn certain characteristics. It's not that you can't laugh, joke, and have fun, and be just like crack jokes on how the Knicks are better than the Sixers and the Giants is going to crush the Eagles. There's no problem with that, right? Alhamdulillah. But at the same time, we're to encourage each other, right? And I got to throw that Saquon's a bum. He's a rat. Anyway. But we got to encourage each other to have taqwa, to be better. We got to bring out the best in each other. And the same way that we are in the masajid is the same way we got to be home with our families. We have to be encouraging to our wives. We have to be encouraging to our children. We commit sins. We want everybody to forgive us. And our family commits sin. We write them off. I don't need it. Get out of here. Be gone. Right? What good are you, brother? You can't be home because you always got to work. I need a new husband. This is how we roll now. The Sahabas weren't like this. There weren't men like this. There were men that were dedicated to what Allah Ta'ala said in the book, and they took it serious. We say we believe it. We say we are right with it. But when you listen to our speech, it doesn't reflect that. So anyway, so Allah Ta'ala tells us to do that. And he said, don't help each other in ithm. Don't help each other in sin and separation. And in today's climate, that's all we help each other in. You can build a whole community based on ithm, right? But you can't build a community on righteousness because everybody just split, run away from each other, right? Or they just get too righteous. You ain't righteous enough, so we out, right? Let our standards start with the shahada. Let the next level start with the salah. Let the next level after that start with the fasting. Let the next level after that start with zakat. Let the next level start with hajj if one has the ability to it. Then after that, then the learning, and things of that nature until we build that person up to be that full man, that good Muslim he's supposed to be, right? Until you reach that level. Don't never stop. Keep encouraging each other, right? Sometimes for those who are present, you make sure that the people that are not present learn. This is how you spread the message in the methodology and the teaching of Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah, right? You just keep going and don't stop. Don't stop. Just keep going. Keep pushing, right? Until what? Never get complacent. Never get complacent to the point you're like a turtle when you put your head back in the shell. Never get complacent with people that are around you that are doing all of the things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hates. Because it's a walking contradiction for you to claim that you follow the Quran and the Sunnah and your heart is not moved with any type of anger when you see that Allah ta'ala is being disobeyed. So in closing, everything that we do has a connection to our akhirah, right? And this is also what is understood, what it means by increase the iman or yaqeen. This is from the path of Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah. Iman and yaqeen, how it increase and decrease, right? The more khair you do, the more stronger it gets, right? But also, the stronger, one of the strengthened ways of reflection, one, is that you reflect, right? When you become a person that is out of billah, right? The knower, the one who becomes a knower of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The first thing that you do is that you learn what is necessary for you to know about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All right? You know that for certain, where the heart is not wavered by this. So when they come up with a new news study or some scientific study, your heart is not swayed by that information, right? This is why. And you get that confirmation. You start off, you learn the 13 attributes, and the rest, it comes from the Quran, right? And until it gets strong. And then you become a knower of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The next thing you become is that person that's drunk in the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Almost to the point where you don't exist. If someone criticizes you and say, man, you know what, you're doing too much. You're a super Muslim. That's actually a good thing. That's actually a good thing, right? Not an offensive super Muslim, because the Sahabas, they weren't offensive to each other, and if they ever offended, they were quick to rectify that bad characteristic. Today's time, we're offensive, but we just get worse in our offensive behaviors. The Sahabas, they would correct their behavior, right? They'll be stern. How many people Umar has snatched up, dragged to the Prophet ﷺ, and later on was crying about it, right? We're happy about the things that we do. We don't care. And Allah Ta'ala says in the Quran, there's two things. Allah Ta'ala won't destroy humanity as long as there's two things that happen. As long as you, Rasulullah ﷺ, is amongst them, and as long as they make tawbah. And tawbah will continue to exist until the end of time. And so in the last part, in closing, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he mentions in this ayah that indeed Allah Ta'ala is severe in punishment. Keep that in mind and keep that in your hearts. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
I was hurting, so I was like,